Hey, it's Michael Rivera with Nebraska Realty, and today we're at Highland North, one of Grand Island's newest neighborhoods, and I get the opportunity to sit down with the lead developer, Amos Anson. Welcome. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks, Michael. It's awesome to be here finally filming this. It's been a journey.
It has been. Tell us a little bit about what we're building here.
So we're building multiple things, Michael. We're building not only houses, but we're building a subdivision, and we're also building, more importantly in my mind, we're building a neighborhood, a community, a group of like-minded people. So that's my answer to your very short questions.
We have a lot of new construction that goes on in Grand Island. Let's talk a little bit about how the uniqueness of these houses here.
Yeah, I can talk about this all day long. So first and foremost, we have houses. We have a place that people will live, whether you're a family or a single person, an empty nester, a widow. We have something for everybody here. So right now, we're sitting in one of the model homes. It's our kind of mid-range house. This is something a family could very easily live in. It's 3-bed, 2-bath. It's got an unfinished basement. So we've got this house, then we've got a smaller model next door that is a 2-bed, 1-bath, and then we've got a third model that is a 2-story, 2-car. That's important to mention. 4-bed, 2.5-bath. So right now we've got 3 different models of homes that people can come take a look through right now.
Now, in each one of these homes, outside of just the 4 walls and a roof, what kind of materials are we using in here? And let's talk about maybe even the room sizes that they're going to get in these.
Yeah, so as far as the houses go, we're doing things a little bit different. So we've got like 9-foot ceilings. We've got, as you can see in this video, we've got these oversized windows. There's a lot of natural light that comes into these floor plans, into these houses. All of our models, we try to put private water closets in the bathrooms. We have dual vanities everywhere. So if you have 2 people getting ready in the morning, everyone kind of has a space. We've got a lot of designer finishes. We're doing things nice out here. We've got granite countertops, or the Corian countertops, hard surface. We've got modular closet systems that can be expanded on. Walk-in closets. You should see the walk-in closet in this house. It's bigger than some bedrooms. So we're doing things a little bit different like that with the finishes.
A lot of questions working with buyers, that we get are, the cost of living as well. Can you talk a little bit about the efficiency of these homes?
Yeah, this is where we really start to get a little more different. So there's only so many ways of making living more cost effective, right? You bring down your outputs and you bring in your inputs. So money in, money out, you reduce those things or bring them up. So one of the major differences is we spray foam the exterior walls of all of these houses. We spray foamed 1.5 inches of foam, and then we put cellulose over top of them. So just by living here, you're already living in a more energy efficient home. So you're already reducing your outputs. We took it several steps further. One of the other things these houses we have 4 thermostats in this house that we're sitting in right now. So you're not heating and cooling the entire house all at once. You're only heating and cooling the floor that needs it, or the section that needs it. So that, again, by default, starts saving you money. Some of the other features that we added, we went a little bit different again and made concessions, made preparations for other things. So one of the things I'm really proud of is these houses are solar ready. So we ran the conduit, we have the boxes, we have it very easily accessible to add some solar panels. So, you reduce your electricity bill or completely eliminate it. And then we also added an electric car charging port in the garage. If you so choose, you don't have to. If you so choose to get an electric car and some solar panels, your electricity is free, your fuel bill is free, and then on top of the energy efficiency we already talked about, everything is LED lighting. If you so choose, you can get Energy Star appliances, and so you start bringing down these costs. That makes living more cost effective. And then I can go into some of the ways of bringing in more money. So we design these houses, all the houses that we're building out here. By the way, if you do have a builder that you want to build out here, we have lots available. But we made separate entrances to the basements. So if you have, let's say, a buddy that needs a place to stay.
Let's step back real quick. So you're talking about you can have separate entrances to the basements, but aesthetically, sometimes that looks a little different from the road. How did you do that different here?
So in the houses that we have and that we're building, we made a separate entrance on the rear of the house.
Okay. So it's not like a duplex, right?
Correct.
You're not looking at two doors.
Yeah, it's a normal house that happens to have a separate entrance to the basement. So you have a buddy that needs somewhere to crash. They can move in if you finish the basement. We laid out all the basements to have windows so you have natural light. So you don't feel like you're in a dungeon. You don't feel like you're in a basement when you're.
I got to see that window today. It's not just a normal window.
It's really not.
What's the size of that?
You're putting me on the spot, Michael. I believe it's 9 foot wide by 5 feet
you
tall.
can get a picture of that, and we'll show
huge.
that. But there's plenty of daylight down there.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're in a basement. You don't feel like you're living in a dungeon. So we made the rough ends for a bedroom, a bathroom, and a living area, and then we also made rough ends for a kitchenette. Yeah. You can't have two apartments, and that's not what we're going for. You can have a roommate.
If somebody wants to put a small wet bar down there, or
absolutely. So we made concessions. So you rent out your basement, you bring down your outputs and bring in your inputs. Next thing you know, you're getting ahead. Every dollar that you save or bring in is that much more you get to spend on doing other things, or paying down your mortgage faster, or going on vacations, or whatever. There's only so many ways to do that, and we made these houses very easily adaptable to be able to do those things.
Those different lifestyles. That's very cool. As a bigger picture, though, how does that affect the subdivision?
So this is a great segue into the subdivision. So one last thing that we did out here for the houses is we made them. We're designing the sprinkler system in the yards so people can have a garden if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want a garden and you want to have some chickens, that's another way to bring down your outputs a little bit more. And you also know where your food came from. You know what got sprayed on it or didn't get sprayed on it. You know the compost that you put on it. You know where that came from. So that's the other way to save a little bit of money and make living more cost effective. And so that leads me into the subdivision. So our subdivision is designed, imagine this, a little bit different. So we have hike and bike trails that go all the way around and then through the backyards. So that's a great amenity. It's neat to be able to do that, but that leads further into our vision of walkability. So all of the hike and bike trails and the sidewalks in front. So when you walk down our sidewalks, you're walking down a sidewalk. When you hit a driveway, you're not sitting here up and down and up and down. You're actually able to walk side by side with your friend.
Or riding a bike, right? You're just
Exactly. You're not crooked, and it's wide. It's 5 feet wide. The other thing we did is we put our sidewalks away from the curb. So in the Nebraska winters, you get the snow and it gets pushed up on your sidewalk if it's next to the curb. Well, ours are away from it, so it can snow one day here and be perfectly bright and shiny the next day. And if you want to go out and walk on your sidewalk, you don't have to worry about snow being piled up on it.
You're not redoing your sidewalks after you get your sidewalks.
That's the other
removed.
thing too. So
right?
yeah,
When the city comes through, sure.
Yeah, you're not scooping your sidewalk twice. So walkability is really important out here. We're putting in more lighting than your typical average subdivision, so you'll be able to walk at night.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
So there'll be more street lights lining the streets, so it'll be illuminated at night. We are putting in astronomical clocks for the exterior lights. So if you want, you can program them to turn on at dusk and turn off at dawn. Or don't. You don't have to do it that way, but if you want to be a part of a subdivision that thinks differently, you turn on your exterior lights, and so walkability is really important.
Right. Any lights on the trail itself?
Yeah, you beat me to it. So while you're walking on that trail, if you happen to have a dog, I'll get to your question in a second, but if you have a dog, and dogs do what dogs do, there's going to be dog stations along the trails. There will be benches if you need to sit down. And then we'll also have patio lights. They're called festoons. So like downtown Grand Island, if anyone has been down there in the last year, Railside and the city hung patio lights over the street. So there'll be patio lights hanging across the sidewalk, the hike and bike trail.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's just different again, And
how are those powered?
So those will be powered by solar. So there'll just be a small solar bank, and we live in a city that does net metering. Fun little fact: the city buys back electricity for what you pay for it, so the same price. So it's just in and out. So we're lighting this hike and bike trail for free. We also drilled a well, a central well. There'll be a few of them throughout, and that well provides water to water your yards, and that is ran by solar as well. So you're watering your yard for free. This circles back to the whole cost-effective living, If you can water your yard for free, your lighting is all provided for free. Those are great amenities to have. There will be some cameras that only look at the trail. That's another important thing. I know some people
So security, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a neighborhood watch, right? When we were young, we'd be out fooling around, and by the time we got home, mom or grandma or whoever already knew
What you were doing.
how we had screwed up.
Yeah.
It's because of that sense of community, So we live in a different age and a different time. That doesn't mean neighborhood watch can't be, modernized. So there'll be cameras that only look at the hike and bike trail. You can black out people's yards. We're not Big Brother. We're not spying on. We don't.
It's a sense of security more
Right.
than anything, right?
Yeah, you as a mom or a dad could send your kid down to the dog park, which I just jumped the gun on part of that. But yeah, you could send your kid down to the dog park or to the playground and be able to watch after them. So it's that sense of security, that looking out for your neighbor type
It's
thing.
reimagining a community.
Yeah.
More than anything. Yeah. Very cool. You did lead to that. So let's talk of some of the amenities that the subdivision itself will see.
Yeah, so along that hike and bike trail and the sidewalks, we're going to have natural grasses. These grasses will be able to actually be harvested. That's one of the funny little things. So it's not just decorative. So we're going to have grasses that will look pretty. So you'll be walking down the sidewalks in the front or the trails or whatever, and there's like 2.5 acres planned for this whole thing with that 2-foot strip and the grasses out front. There's 2.5 acres of green space. That's a lot.
That is.
So that's one of the neat things. You'll feel like you're walking through nature, because you will be. There are plans in later phases. You can't do this all right away. It doesn't work. But there's plans in later phases to do a dog park right across the street and a small community building. What that ends up being will be largely up to what the community wants, what the neighborhood wants. There'll be like a butterfly garden and a playground area.
Very cool.
On the other side from where we're sitting right here in these first few houses. We do have to put a detention cell in because we are in Grand Island, but a detention cell doesn't have to be ugly. So we're going to make it a feature. So there'll be landscaping and trails around it, and it'll be really nice.
Something to look at.
Yeah, not just
a
some
big puddle.
hole. Yeah, not just some hole in the ground or a puddle.
Yeah.
It attracts nature, and so that's another kind of amenity that we'll have out here. You're starting to see a theme.
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
nature, of being around people. You're cross paths with your neighbor. You're in a natural setting. You want to be able to unwind when you are here.
You really could come here and see yourself, living in a community where your kids are all playing with the neighbors, right? But the walkability to go down the block is also scenic. It's not just walking down the street. It's scenic with grasses and natural, amenities around and wildlife. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we'll have, it won't be like a boulevard of trees, but we will have trees along the street. We're in the prairie. The prairie isn't a forest, so we're going to have some trees as well. So
let's talk about that. You mentioned prairie, and I know that's kind of stemmed some inspirations. We won't spend long on this, but let's talk about like the house plans itself, the names of them.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun little deal. When you do a subdivision, you get to name the streets. I don't know if people know that, but us as the developer, we got to name the streets. So we're on Wilder, and honestly, that stemmed from my wife. It's Laura Ingalls Wilder. So that was a Little House on the Prairie, and it was very fitting. And then the names of the houses: Wild Rye, Blue Stem, Amble Way. You amble through the walking trails. It all kind of has that natural prairie grasses kind of theme. So it's kind of fun.
It is fun. It's neat. It's not something that's just in your face, but once you know that, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people probably may or may not catch on to, but it was fun being able to name them.
That is fun. Someday maybe I can do that too. That's cool. So the zoning around here isn't just residential. There's a little bit of mixed use. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, that's another really neat. There's so many neat things to talk about with this subdivision, but that's another one. So right now we have 3 floor plans. And these are a more compact design, but we also have larger lots. So if you want a big 3-car, 1,800 square foot ranch, 2,500 square foot ranch, we have lots that those fit on. But then, to me, more importantly, we have a few other options that are in the hopper. So we've got some row house plans. And by the way, if anybody wants to see these, we have them. Get a hold of the team at Nebraska Realty, and we can walk you through in virtual reality. It's weird, step out of your comfort zone, but we can walk you through some of these. But we have row house, like the brownstones that you see in the bigger cities, a row house. So we have row houses planned. And then to get to your question, we have some mixed use buildings that are also on the agenda here. So on the main floor, there'll be a small commercial space, which can be used for a multitude of things.
Sure.
And then there's 3 single family condos that will be built as well. And by the way, this is a good time to mention that everything out here needs to be, at least one of the units has to be owner occupied. So
right.
we're doing that a little bit different. So you can.
So an investor or somebody can't just come in and then, buy these houses up and rent them, right? There's still, which takes a little bit out of a community or neighborhood, right, where it's pride of ownership, right?
Right. When you're the one living here and you have to see it day in and day out, you take a little more pride. So for the people that want to get into home ownership, which is, by the way, very near and dear to my heart, there's only so many ways to build wealth in America, and hands down, by far the best way is real estate. There's only so many ways to be able to purchase real estate. It has to fit in your budget. Well, that being said, there will be a 1-bedroom condo option. A little bit different for Grand Island, don't get me wrong. It's a little bit out of the box for this community, but if you want to purchase a home, purchase something you own, and live in it, we will have a mixed-use building area where you can purchase a single-bedroom condo, and you'll be a homeowner. And then to kind of lead into the bigger commercial spot, there's right across the street, there will be a commercial building where we can. This is where I go a little out of the box. Michael always has to rein me in. But the idea right now is to be able to have food truck-sized kitchens in there. So if you want to have supper with your neighbor or whatever, you go over to the community building and the dog park. The kids play, the dog plays, and you have a little bit of supper. Maybe have a beer with your buddy or your neighbors. That, by the way, you just crossed paths with them on the hike and bike trail, and next thing you know, you're over there, or you're a single person, and you run into that person, and then you go have a have dinner together and just chill. So I'm digressing a little bit from your question, but that's kind of the
big
point
picture, yeah,
of the subdivision. But
it's all here. It's all walkable. You're not driving across town to get that, right? It's all right here, which is very cool. It's in your backyard, literally. Let's talk a little bit more of, I'm assuming there's going to be an HOA.
yes, so there will be an HOA. It's more of how I want people to think of it is more of a neighborhood. So yes, there is an HOA that you pay a fee to. Our fee is going to be as small as possible. So I keep talking about hike and bike trails. Those have to be maintained. They're for the community. So the HOA will have to maintain the hike and bike trail and the grasses around it. There will be a small technology fee, which I'll get into in a minute why that's important. But we're trying to keep these fees extremely low. We're going to do things a little bit different and let people opt in to quite a few services. So there's people that love mowing their yard. I think they're crazy, but they're out there. You know who you are. But no, that's really cool. If you take pride in doing that, that's great. If you want the HOA to take care of it and you just don't want to do any of it, you don't want to mow your yard, you don't want to scoop your snow, opt into the HOA portion
That
of it.
maintains that for you.
And we, as an HOA, should be able to purchase those services for a lower price since we're buying them, in a bundle. Another way to save a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Make living more cost effective. So there's that aspect, those kind of boring, mundane aspects of an HOA, and then I'll get into the fun stuff in a second. But there's also, whenever you live in an HOA, people cringe. Half of the people I talk to when I say there will be an HOA, ooh.
Right.
So nobody wants.
Well, maybe HOA is not the right. I mean, that's the official word for it, but
Right, and that it is the official word for it, but I want people to think of it more as a neighborhood.
yeah.
And so inevitably, problems arise in a neighborhood. That's just the way it is. It's human nature. So getting back to that technology fee, there will be a way so our HOA isn't a board of untouchable people that get to sit there on their throne and make decisions. Every single person in this subdivision will have an opportunity, if they so choose. If you don't want to be involved, I guess don't be involved, but also don't complain. So there'll be an opportunity for people
To have a voice.
To have a voice. If you have an issue with your neighbor, there's going to be a process in place of mediation to go through that. We're also not going to have, we're going to have very, very few rules, but we will have a code of conduct. Even pirates have a code, right? The rough pirates, there's a code. There's going to be a code out here in this subdivision that people agree to live by. And my expectation is that none of this will be a problem. You agreed to live by the code of this neighborhood, not the HOA. It is an HOA, but no, you live by the code of the neighborhood. And I think that'll solve a lot of problems. But inevitably, like I said, if a problem arises, there'll be mediation steps and ways to do it without this giant oversight of just a few people. So I digressed. We got the kind of ugly part out, but life can be challenging at some times, and you have to have things in place for that.
Yeah, having procedures in place for that helps navigate that if and when that comes up, right?
Right. So now more to the fun stuff. I kind of alluded to this, in an earlier portion of the video, but the neighborhood, they have an opportunity. I was talking about crossing paths with your neighbor. I always, whenever I talk about this, I always quote Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. Yes, it's really weird, but one of his quote in that movie was, "You covet what you see every day." So if you're walking down this hike and bike trail, or you see on the intranet, which is only for
Part of
the
that
people,
tech fee, right?
If you see on the intranet your neighbor post pictures of all the eggs they're getting, or they put it on, on the marketplace, on the technology portion of it, and they can barter with you. You can go over to their house and have some eggs for dinner or breakfast that they have grown from their own chickens, or the fresh vegetables. You cross those people on the hike and bike trail. You run into them at the dog park. You meet people in passing. And so with coveting something you see every day, I want people to think a little bit different. And when your neighbor's like, hey, I don't have any bill for my gas for my car. We have zero electricity. We water our yards for free because of the solar and the wells. I want that to be an opportunity for people to start to covet what they see every day. Or don't. That's the beauty of the subdivision too. If you don't want to do any of those things, don't. And that's perfectly fine. You'll still fit right in.
Yeah.
But if you do, the opportunity is there. So the neighborhood is so much more than just a neighborhood, where there's so many opportunities for people to run into people, or to share homeschooling with, or daycare. I'm not a parent, but I talk to a lot of my friends, and that stuff can be a problem. Well, in a neighborhood where you know your neighbors, you're more likely to find a family that you could maybe swap some days watching each other's kids or whatever. I don't know.
Let's explain to me. So, if, like, just in the daycare or a small business, or like I want to prep somebody's taxes, if I were wanting to do that here locally, we kind of talked about the zoning. You're setting it up in different phases here to allow that, right? Briefly, let's just chat on what that looks like.
Yeah. So with having a commercial area out here, there are opportunities, if people so choose, to do a lot of these things. I want people who are thinking differently to be able to have the opportunity to do these things easier without breaking the rules. There's only so many things you can do legally on your property, and with the zoning of the commercial and the smaller lots and the zoning that just got changed to allow chickens, we're making active strides to be able to allow people to do a lot of that stuff. I'm trying to take a lot of the barriers out to do these things. You still have to live within the rules and the law, but we're trying to take a lot of that out.
So everything I've heard so far, I mean, obviously there's something for everyone here. There's, whether you want to participate or not, and obviously it's all going to come in phases, right? It's not all happening overnight. But what do you foresee in big picture in the future for this community?
So you're asking me my crazy ideas.
I want to know the crazy ideas. Let's get into the brain of Amos Anson here.
Oh no, that's a dangerous place to be. But no, I love dreaming. I love challenging the status quo. I love giving people an opportunity to do things differently, not just to be different. But if you're not moving forward, you're either standing still or you're moving backwards. So this is very important for people to realize and understand. None of this is guaranteed to happen. This is more big picture. If the neighborhood, if the people who live here want these things to happen, we have laid the groundwork and it will be in place, and you have a leader on the development team that wants these things to happen. If it doesn't, that's fine, but the groundwork is laid. So there are, we touched on it a little bit earlier with the like the homeschooling thing. If you want a group of parents to be able to legally do homeschooling or daycare or whatever as a group, there's places in this subdivision that those families can do those things. It is available. If they want to rent a space, if they want whatever, those things are there. If somebody really wants to try their craft, some people know this about me and some don't, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart. We've started several businesses, me and my wife. I love to give people the opportunity to practice their craft. So that the building over here we've been talking about, if you have an idea for a restaurant and you're a barbecue person, you have this giant barbecuer and you want to practice that, you think people would love it and they would pay top dollar for it. Test it out. Yeah. Try it out in this little test kitchen of a community building. If it works, great. If it doesn't, great. It's important to be successful, but it's also important to fail. If you think through your rose-colored glasses that you have this wonderful idea and nobody else thinks so, that's very important. I digress a little bit. So there's things like that if people want to do those things. There's an opportunity. All these houses are laid out with the cabinets for recycling. This comes back down to living more cost effectively again. So if you want to recycle, recycling is its own animal. I've learned more about recycling than I probably care to have learned, but there's many steps in recycling. So you have to clean the stuff, you have to sort it, you have to shred it, you have to package it, you have to sell it to somebody that'll buy it, and all these steps that you take out. Well, if you do that in your home, you clean it, you sort it, you shred it, you bring it over to let's say a shipping container that's set up as a recycling collection point. And you do that, then the HOA can sell that stuff and bring down the cost. So there's out of the box things like that that people, if it comes to fruition in the future, that's awesome.
Obviously, if that ever comes, to life, there, you bringing costs down, other costs of living, that makes it bringing all of that down for people out here. That's awesome. What other things do you see out here?
So this is really out of the box. I know a lot of people will poo-poo this, but you don't have to have 2 vehicles as a family, or 3 or 4 or whatever you have. You can choose to ride an e-bike, and there's spots in the garage where a person could ride an e-bike. Once or twice a week, just drive down the street to get your groceries and put your little cute baskets, whatever, or an e-scooter or whatever. There's opportunities like that, and there's like-minded people out here that won't make fun of you for that stuff. Well, they might, but that's all right. But there's opportunities for some of that out-of-the-box stuff, especially if the hike and bike trail system, when it connects to the city, there's an entire trail network that you could ride your bike.
Tap right into, yeah.
It could be for recreation, or you could literally ride your bike to work. I know it's out of the box, especially for a lot of people in this town, but just stretch yourself. Think outside the box a little bit. Another portion with the community center, if the neighborhood wants to host events. I know what it's like to, a lot of people say there's nothing to do in my town. Well, what do you mean by that? What I've found in my experience is what they mean is there's no like-minded people to hang out with. Hanging out with your buddies is what people want to do. I mean, you're not going to a concert every night in Omaha, or even if you live there, you're not doing that. You're hanging out with your buddies or your family. So let's do that over here in the green space, in the community building. There's nothing stopping the community from putting on a band. There's nothing stopping that. So if the neighborhood wants to do those types of things, they can do that in the future.
Thank you for sharing all that. There's, again, lots to unfold there, and it's exciting to see it to come to life. And if you out there want to be part of this, or don't, and still want to look at these houses, just please reach out to us. There's a lot there. There's something for everyone, truly, in this neighborhood. Just give us a call. Reach out to Nebraska Realty. We'd love to show you these houses. Thank you again. A lot of great stuff here. Any last words there?
Yeah, and like Michael said, if you have any interest in this project or neighborhood whatsoever, come kick some tires.
Yeah.
Just come walk through it. If family's in town, it's something to do. Come to some open houses. But also, if you want something different than what we have, we do custom build. Again, just get a hold of Nebraska Realty team over there. If you got a floor plan you want built, we can do that. If you have your own builder, bring them on over. We do have some design guidelines that we abide by. We can also custom design something for people. We can do semi-custom if you come walk through the houses and there's just a little tweak you want to make. Let's just
dig
build one
basement
for
and
you.
get it going for you.
Yep.
So thanks again.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. Let us know. Thanks.